All right, Mikhail Kasyanov joins me now from just outside of Moscow. He is a Russian politician who served as the prime minister from 2000 to 2004, and I've interviewed him many times and respect his opinion very deeply on what's happening inside Russia. Mikhail, some stunning events on the weekend when you take a look at the not just the numbers of people, but when you take a look at the landscape of protests. I mean, close to 100 of them right across the country.
Yes, landscape geography, as like we say, geography is amazing. It's never happened before in Russia in the last 20 years. In fact, it's more than 100 cities in all Russia just on the streets of 100, more than 100 cities. People appeared to protest against what going on in Russia, in the country, and protests against arrest of Alexei Navalny.
What got them out there? Is it just Navalny's arrest, or is there more to it?
A little deeper. In fact, people already tired of and discontent by the authorities already has been accumulated, and I would say lawless behavior of authorities on many respects. I would say an ability of authorities to establish some kind of channel for communication with the society, and I would say arrogant behavior, etc., etc. But the trigger of this was arrest of Alexei Navalny, who after poisoning came back to Moscow and was arrested at the airport. People were shocked by that. And plus on that of the recent movie, I would say video, which were placed in the internet by Alexei Navalny about Putin's, about the corruption around him, and him, of course, just added to this respect as well too.
I sat through that entire video, and I thought it was remarkable because it's very detailed on the corruption of Putin, people around him, hundreds of millions of dollars taken, this palace near the Black Sea. You know, Putin shrugged it off this week and kind of smirked and, as you said, arrogantly responded, you know, maybe one day he'd like to have a winery, but the Kremlin has just said all of this is false and fiction. Is it fiction or is it real?
Yeah, all people, of course, believe it's real. It's not necessarily to be registered as ownership, but in fact, just two main factors that the sky was locked around that, and but for aircrafts and helicopters.
A no-fly zone by the FSB, the Federal Security Service.
It was done officially by Ministry of Transportation because of their authority, but of course, under the security, and the whole area is under security of FSB or Secret Service, which protects Putin and people, high-level people around here. That's why people, of course, have no doubts about that.
And are people outraged? I mean, you know, people are struggling during the pandemic. The economy's not good. There's stagnation in Russia. I think that when they take a look at this monstrous palace that, you know, looks like another Versailles, they must be furious.
It is not a real, I would say, or major aspect, as I said. That was like a trigger or just addition to all I would say, discontent, and the people unacceptable behavior of authorities, etc. But you know, just corruption in Russia always was a problem, and a majority of generations, they lived during the corruption or during Soviet period time.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing if you have corruption by bandits. It's another thing if your leader is seen to be stealing billions of dollars from people, though. That's very different.
For young people, for new generation who don't have this in their memories, of course, for them it's like explosion. For teenagers and on TikTok, just different movies and different placement there, of course, just very much created the whole atmosphere around it. But as I say, that's not the main issue for majority of those people who were on the streets last Saturday. Mainly that is, I would say, discontent is maturing in their mind, and that's what I would like to say. Just the main issue for this 2021 is just constitutional event, elections to State Duma. And that could be, I would say, the critical point for the whole historical, I would say, period of Russia at this moment. And this
what you're saying is that you have parliamentary elections, the Duma, and they're coming up in September. And what's at stake here?
Yeah, that's when that is the issue, when that is the point, when people started to understand that their constitutional rights, their votes are stolen, or authorities don't allow at all, or in principle don't allow people to express their position, to express their opinion. They don't allow opposition parties to participate. They don't allow opposition candidates to participate in elections, or even for those few which they allow to come in, they just then falsify the results. That's what it happened in December 2011. And could happen 2029.
You ran for president, so you know you more
11,
than.
It was parliamentary elections. When it wasn't president, they cut me from elections when my support started to grow. They, on the early stage, 1 month after registration, they cut me because just they understood that could be a danger. But I mean, in December 2011, there was results, there was parliamentary elections, and then at that time, I would say 100,000 people in Moscow appeared in the streets to protest. And at that time, authorities, Putin started to somehow to relax the situation. He made a decision to, I would say, to ease registration of political parties and some other minor things. But then when demonstrations disappeared from Moscow streets, they stopped all those changes and even squeezed the whole environment even furthermore.
Very quickly, what do you think of Navalny? You know him. You've met with him many times. You were in a coalition with him. Were you not at one point?
Yeah.
What's your take on him? I mean, he bravely came back. I don't think a lot of people would.
He's brave person. That's no doubt about that. Even for many people who doubt about his, I would say, political, strengths or political position, because sometimes people criticize him for extreme rights expressions or extreme left expressions, etc., But he's really a real leader of the protests, on the street protests. He is the leader of this, and he is leader of youth. That's definitely, there is no any other of such, I would say, with such a popularity. And he is very brave person. And because of his coming back, many people who didn't support him right now changed their attitude to Mr. Navalny.
When I look at that video, and we come back to that video for a moment, I mean, he called Putin a bandit, a thief. He listed all of the people with their pictures, with their names, the so-called wallets, the people who store the administration, not the administration, store the president's money illegally in the shadows. That seems like an act of,
as I say, at this moment, there is no doubt that Alexei Navalny right now, the brightest representative of opposition. And no one is, I would say, have doubts about that. No,
is he ever going to get out of prison?
I mean the prison?
Is he ever going to be allowed out of prison after doing that video criticizing Putin?
That's interesting story. Right now, there is a discussion about that. In fact, I would tell you on this stage that behavior of Putin and his authority with respect to Navalny's, I would say, freedom depends on the position of leaders of European Union. For Russia, for Putin, position of European Union, it's very important. Russian economy in a very poor position at this moment. And at least not worsening relations, economic relations in particular with European Union, that's important issue for Mr. Putin. And that's why I feel he wants, and his people around, they want Navalny to put to jail for a long time. But the situation could change. They could somehow to reconsider their emotional attitude to this movie, and somehow just to get a little bit back to the reality, and to even legal justice, and to release him from this, I would say, convention what were just artificially created for on this stage. And but in any case, he would not be released completely, but he could be put in arrest at home, but not in jail.
So you're saying the EU, which is wobbly and wavering on Russia and sanctions, and they met this week and they kind of came out with no decision, which is pretty common for the EU, but they are going to come to Russia. You urge them to take those sanctions. Otherwise, if they don't keep the pressure on, Navalny may spend a long time in prison.
I have to express just the whole, I would say, attitude to what's happened around Navalny. First of all, the issue number one, that is application of Novichok, of nerve agent Novichok. That is prohibited. And as I understand from all those reports, that there is no doubt of organization of prohibition of chemical weapons, that it was Novichok and there was application of this.
And Russia is a
violation of international law.
Chemical Weapons Convention, yeah.
Yeah, that is violation of international law. That's the issue number one, which could be considered. And secondly, of course, more internal issue like Navalny and his arrest, that is human rights abuse, etc. But the primary issue, of course, Novichok.
Mikhail Kasyanov, always an honor to talk to you. Good to see you.
Great pleasure. Thank you very much.